What good does it serve you when you're so caught up or so hung up on how somebody else is living their lives or how somebody else goes about doing certain things in life? Like, let people be who they are. People don't have to change for you. But you also don't have to allow everybody to be in your life if you don't like how they live theirs. It's really that simple. Hey y'all, it's Megan May and this is Transparency, where we keep it real about our growing pains and all the beautiful moving parts of life that may not be the most glamorous but shape us into who we are today. So if you're ready for some introspection and evolution, go ahead and lock in by hitting the subscribe button. And if anything I says resonates with you, you can leave me a comment and or like so I know we see each other. So I first would just like to start off by saying Happy New Year. I am very excited about this year. As I stated in one of my last videos, I really feel like this is going to be a great year for so many of us because I don't know, I just feel it in my bones that, you know, the things that we've been praying for, the seeds that we've been sowing are finally going to come to fruition. And to be quite honest, like I won't say that I've had a great start to the new year. I can't complain, but at the same time, it's just like, I ain't come in strong. I just did not come in strong. But you know, we only in the second week and I still am believing in bigger and better and greater things for me and for y'all. So that's kind of what this episode is going to be about. It's going to be about some of the things that I've reflected on from last year, and I guess you could say the years prior that I've kind of been ignoring or not really giving that much attention into. And essentially they're things that I want to let go of because they haven't served me, and I guess I was turning a blind eye to some of these things, or I wasn't realizing exactly how they were affecting me. And I want to be able to share these with you guys because I want to provide a little bit of insight of things that I feel like a lot of people actually normalize that are not necessarily healthy for our overall well-being, our overall growth, and just transforming into being the best versions of ourselves. Like showing ourselves that extra care, that extra love also includes, you know, eliminating factors of our lives, whether they be people, habits, things that just aren't, you know, aligned with where we see ourselves going and the vision that we have for our lives. So if you feel like this is something that you'll be interested in, definitely stay tuned. So essentially I thought I was going to create a 2025 ins and outs list, and I might still do that. I might still record that because I don't necessarily feel like this is an ins and outs list, but definitely, you know, giving myself reminders to hold on to throughout the course of this year and moving forward. And yeah, let's just go ahead and jump straight in. So the first thing that I have as a reminder is to protect myself. And this can mean several different things, but what I really think that this means for the vast majority of us is to put ourselves, our best interest at the top of mind. I think a lot of us, especially those of us who have like a habit of people pleasing, have a habit of going above and beyond and doing things for others, you know, trying to make sure that those that we love, feel happy, feel appreciated, feel seen. We can sometimes do that to the detriment of ourselves, and so we aren't really protecting ourselves because we kind of put ourselves on the back burner to ensure that everyone else is satisfied, everyone else feels, you know, those ways that I just described. And what it ends up doing is leaving us not only depleted, but sometimes not even being able to recognize ourselves, because I feel like when you spread yourself too thin, a lot of the times you kind of not necessarily shape shift, but you have to pretty much create different versions of yourself for the various roles and the various titles that you have in your life. And sometimes that means that we overcommit to being a good friend, and we overcommit to being a good girlfriend, we overcommit to being a good mother, we overcommit to being a good, you know, whatever titles, whatever roles you play, you just might overcommit to those things. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a great friend, a great mother, a great girlfriend, a great sister, a great whatever. It's nothing wrong with doing that, but at what cost? And that's a question that I feel like I've had to ask myself throughout the ending of last year. And as I was making this reminders list, I was just reminded of, that question, because I do pride myself on being a good person, and that looks different for the various relationships that I have in my life, but at what cost? And I just want to keep that at top of mind. I want you to keep that at the top of your mind, because I want us to be sure that we're being good people, but not at the cost of devaluing ourselves, or compromising on things that really we wouldn't want to compromise on, or being too graceful, being too understanding in situations where you do feel hurt, you do feel betrayed, but you also want to keep this relationship going. And even if you vocalize, that hurt, that pain, sometimes it is time to close that door. Sometimes things are not unforgivable, but things are strong enough or foul enough, for lack of better words, to where it's just like irreversible damage. Like, I can heal, yes, but I don't necessarily care to heal with you in such close proximity to me. And I've learned that lesson the hard way. So, if you find yourselves in situations where you are overcommitting to any role that you play in someone else's life because of the love that you have for them, the care that you have for them, and you realize that, one, it might not be reciprocated, or two, they just don't really necessarily seem to appreciate the way that you show up, or it's misunderstood why you show up in the ways that you do. And even when you communicate why it is that you show up in the ways that you do, it's still not appreciated, then you need to go ahead and protect yourself. Don't try to still overextend and still overcommit, because you're going to not only deplete yourself, but also create a space for resentment within yourself and towards that person. Because the facts are the facts, and when things are sitting there in black and white, like, we kind of want to try to find a way to color some color into the picture, but it is what it is. It's right there in front of us. And I feel like a lot of the times we ignore what we call red flags. We ignore those red flags, and we kind of brush things off as saying like, oh, it's not that bad, it's not that serious, oh, they didn't mean it. And they quite actually did. They quite actually did not care, so just protect yourself in that sense. And the second thing that I have listed as a reminder for 2025 is to stop making others' feelings and well-being a top priority. And this definitely feeds into what I was just talking about, but now I'm focused more on the energy, the amount of energy that we put into people that we love. It's understandable, definitely, but at the same time, have you ever realized how you will do whatever, by all means necessary, you'll do whatever that someone is asking of you. You show up in the ways they're asking of you. You make yourself available. You go to the ends of the earth if you need to. Whatever it is that's being asked of you, whatever it is that you feel like, I'll do this because I know they'll do it for me. But in the event that the tables turn and it's their time to show up for you in that same way, they do not. It leaves you feeling very much unloved, very much unappreciated, very much like you just don't really matter as much as you thought you did. And sometimes I feel like, too, what I've noticed in my life is that certain people would go above and beyond for other people in their lives that did not show up. Like the same people that you're coming to me complaining about how they don't do this, how you wish they did this, how you did X, Y, and Z for them, and they still don't, and they still don't, and they still don't. Like, it's always a complaint. It's never really any verbal praises for that person, or you coming to me showing me that you appreciate the relationship you have with that other person. And I think that was kind of a factor in me kind of overextending myself in certain situations, because it's like, okay, I see that this is something that bothers you. Let me go ahead and step in so that you don't feel this way in our relationship. But it's crazy enough to see that, or not crazy enough, but it's even crazier to see that the things that people complain about, when you try to supplement for that void that they might be feeling in their lives, from a different relationship, it's still not appreciated. And you know why? It's because it was never on you to fill that void. And I feel like it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's something that we definitely need to come to terms with, and something that we definitely need to understand, that fixing other people's problems is not our job. The way that we love and care for people can kind of move us to want to do these things and feel like we need to fix certain things because we feel like it's in our power to fix certain things. But the amount of energy that we're taking away from ourselves that we could be pouring into ourselves by just, you know, allowing people to go through what they're going through, and allowing people to see things for what they are in their other relationships, without feeling like we have to be their savior, without feeling like we have to come to their rescue. And you know, when they do come to us, you know, in a time of need, or wanting us to be the shoulder to lean on or the shoulder to cry on, being available and making ourselves available, but not feeling like we have to be the one to fix problems that we did not create, so that we can preserve that energy for ourselves. Very important. And I want us to really see our time and our energy and our value as sacred, because things that are sacred have to be protected at all costs. And if you don't really see your time and your energy as sacred, then you kind of exploit it yourself. And I find myself, you know, still having problems in this area, because yes, I know that time is sacred. I know it's a resource that we cannot get back. And as time goes on, you know, you continue to contemplate life about whether you should go this direction, whether you made a good decision or a bad decision in your past. Like, have all these thoughts because of, you know, the way that life is continuing to show itself to you. But when you really realize how sacred life is, and how sacred your time, your energy, your peace of mind is, you definitely move differently. And that's something that I really want to shed light on this year, when deciding what choices I want to make for myself, for my overall transformation into being the best version of myself. And I think that's something that you guys should also consider. And so, you know, a way to go about this is to also do an audit. I'm always going to talk about doing some form of audit, because an audit is essentially just a reflection of what's going on in your life. You know, sometimes we have things that's in our life as placeholders that we don't really put too much attention or value in, and not even attention or value, but we don't really like give those things enough thought. But I want us to do an audit of the relationships that we have, and I want us to really consider exactly how considered we are in those relationships. Now, granted, every relationship you have does not have to have you as a top priority. I feel like the only relationships where you should be one of the top priorities is something romantic, obviously. And even in friendships, I feel like to a certain degree, just having a certain level of respect for a friend should be top priority. But in terms of what decisions you're making for your life, your friendships are not a top priority. But the way that you navigate those friendships, the way that you show up in those friendships, are you being considered? Are you being considered enough for somebody disappointing you? Is it going to hurt them? Is it going to haunt them? Is it going to make them feel the same ways that you feel when you feel like you're disappointing them? Consider those things. Consider exactly how much have you poured into something, and are you getting a return on the investment that you've made into these relationships? Whether that be a business relationship, your friendships, a romantic relationship, something at a job. Like, are you getting the return that you desire? Are you being considered? Are people being thoughtful in the ways that you're being thoughtful towards them? Are you having that reciprocity? If not, then that's something that you definitely need to either create a boundary on or completely cut off. And quite frankly, I feel like I'm more so in a cutting off season of my life, because I feel like I've already created boundaries. And I feel like a lot of the boundaries that I've set personally have still been too flexible. And so, you know, of course, using my discretion, but a lot of things I think are just going to be a simple cutoff moving forward, because I don't have time to keep re-explaining things. And for people that I don't feel like show up in the same ways that I show up for them, I'm not going to keep extending myself in those same ways. If I feel like I'm not considered, if I feel like my voice isn't valued, my opinion, my feelings aren't valued, then that's fine. I'm going to accept what it is. I'm going to move on, but I'm not going to keep yours at high regard anymore, because it's obvious that things are one-sided. So yeah, this was also a very hard pill to swallow, but it's facts. It's facts. And this is facts for, again, any relationship that you have in your life. So I guess in a sense this episode is kind of relationship focused, because just scanning through, yeah, I would say it's relationship focused. Not exactly all of these are about external relationships. It's mostly about the relationship that I have with myself, or the relationships that, you know, you would want to cultivate with yourself. But you have to keep these things top of mind to cultivate a healthy relationship with yourself. So moving on to number 3. When people are ready to say fuck you, they will. They will. And they don't have to have a reason to come to terms and say this to you, or move in a way that's showing you that this is how they feel. They don't have to have a reason. People have different things going on in their lives. People's priorities will continuously change in their lives, and sometimes you just won't make the list. Sometimes you just don't make the cuts. And so when people are ready to turn their back on you, or when people are ready to walk away from you, when people are ready to close the door on what you've had, they will. And they don't have to give you an explanation. You don't have to have closure. You don't have to have an understanding. The most important thing that you can do is learn to detach. And we'll have a whole episode on attachment, because that's something that I am currently learning how to do. And it's crazy, because there's many relationships that have failed in my life, not romantic relationships, but just friendships, and, you know, even relationships that I didn't necessarily, or they didn't necessarily fail, but we just kind of grew apart. I feel like I should know how to detach, but I think it's about the amount of things or time, again, that you invested in a relationship that kind of makes it hard for you to let go. Sometimes you just feel like, oh my gosh, this is somebody that I thought would be in my life forever. Oh my gosh, I can't believe. But sometimes you just have to make people dead to you. You really just have to make people dead to you, because when somebody dies, there's no way to revive them. There's nothing that can bring them back to life. You just have to accept the fact that they're gone, and they're gone forever. Now, whether they live in your heart forever is one thing, but you won't be able to contact them. You won't ever be able to kick it with them, vibe out with them, go somewhere with them, call them, hug on them, kiss on them, whatever. You won't never be able to do that again. And so when people show you that they don't care to have you a part of their experience anymore, they don't care to have you a part of their lives anymore, you need to accept that and move on. Am I saying it's going to be easy? No, it's not going to be easy, especially if this is something that happened kind of like out of thin air to you. Like, you didn't see it coming. There was no real discourse, or there was no real disagreements that brought you guys to this place, but it was just kind of like, you know, a shift that took place. And this is just the conclusion that you came to, like, oh, they just don't care to have me in their lives anymore. It's a hard pill to swallow, but you can swallow it. You have no choice. You have to learn how to let things go. You have to learn how to let people go. And also just understand and appreciate that people do honestly exist for a season. Now, some seasons are to the end of the road, but a lot of the times those seasons do have expiration dates. And when that expiration date comes, you're only going to be hurting yourself if you're trying to cling on to something that's already dead. So, you know, when that time comes, as much as you might not want to let that person go, as much as you feel like, you know, this is something that can be salvaged, something that you want to, you know, try again, let it go. And like they say, if you love something, let it go. And if it returns, then, you know, it's possibly meant to be. But when things are, you know, put in front of you and they're clear as day that this is just not working, this is just not what it's going to be, don't sit here and try to cling on to it. Accept it for what it is and let it walk out of your life, and just trust that it's going to be replaced with better. Now also, I would say, when you believe that things are going to be replaced with better, please, 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 please don't put a timeline on when that better will enter your life, because then you live in this anxious state of just desperation almost, where it's just like you're settling, or you're allowing things to fly that wouldn't normally fly because you're trying to fill a void. And you shouldn't be trying to fill a void that you feel from somebody exiting your life with another person. Like, when something like that happens, when a friendship ends, when a relationship ends, when you lose a job, when you get denied from an opportunity, I think one of the things that I've learned over these past few months is, honestly, you just need to put that focus into yourself. Like, what is it that situation or that relationship brought you? What is it that you feel like you now lack because of its absence in your life? And how can you cultivate that same feeling for yourself? Because that's essentially what self-love is as well, is finding the ways to make yourself feel good. And that's something I'm going to touch on later on, because I have that listed as well. But we need to find the different things that make us feel good. And sometimes things don't necessarily make us feel good in that moment, but it's the repeated act of doing something that kind of heals that wound over time. And just think about it. When you have, like, let's say you fall on the ground outside on concrete and you have an open wound, you have to treat that wound, you have to tend to that wound on a continuous basis. All wounds take time to heal, so allow that pain to be there because it's a part of the process. But you have to show up for yourself and do whatever it is that you need in that moment to make yourself feel better. Don't turn to vices, don't turn to other people, because those things can also fail you. But if you have, like, if you develop some form of routine or some type of practice for yourself where it's just like, okay, you know, I was clinging on to this relationship, or I found it hard to get over this person leaving out of my life because I found the most happiness when I spent time with them. Okay, why is it that you found the most happiness when you spent time with them? What is it that they were doing? What is it that you guys were sharing that made you feel that way? Oh, you guys would often go out and explore new things together. Oh, you guys would often try new foods together. Oh, you guys would often watch movies together. Okay, how do doing those things by yourself make you feel? And if you find that when you engage in these things and you don't necessarily feel that same feeling, then cool, it's time to go ahead and find different things that you can explore on your own to bring you a similar feeling. You don't have to necessarily stick with doing the same things that you did with that person, because honestly, that might also be a reason why you don't find the same thing like as enjoyable, is because you're still in your head subconsciously stuck on the fact that you used to engage in this behavior or experience with somebody else. But yeah, I think certain chapters ending in your life is just a signal to you that it's time to go ahead and have some type of self-exploration. Find things that light you up on the inside that can't nobody come and take away. Can't nobody come and replace this certain type of joy in your life, because you are making it as special as you can make it for yourself. And there's nobody, I mean, even if somebody comes and starts to participate in this thing with you, that's not going to take away the joy that it brings you by doing it alone. That's very important. The next reminder that I have for this year is stop entertaining things that you don't like. Now, this could be literally anything. This could be stop forcing yourself to eat the vegetables that you don't like. There's so many vegetables. Try as many as you need to find the ones that you like, because the important thing about eating healthy is eating healthy. You don't have to eat every vegetable known to man for you to be somebody that's eating healthy. Stop doing exercises that you don't like. I find that a lot of the reasons why people kind of like forfeit their health goals is because they're trying to commit to things that other people say are effective, they like doing it. But you also have to understand that we live in a world where a lot of people don't know what they like because they're so focused on doing what everyone else likes. They're so focused on doing what seems cool, what seems trendy, what seems to, you know, have the most engagement. People aren't really authentic to themselves these days. And so what we need to do is stop doing things and stop entertaining things that we do not like. So important, so important. And I use that as an example, like the whole health thing, because obviously I'm on my health journey, and y'all, I ain't gonna touch on it too deeply, but we're just gonna see. We're gonna see if I get a workout in today. And that's the wrong mindset to have. I need to stop saying we're gonna see and start actually like being intentional, like I'll be preaching on here. But I have yet to work out since this year has started, and it is the 9th of January. Boo. Like, what's going on, sis? Y'all really need to probably, like, you know, chew me out in the comments a little bit, because I don't know, bullying ain't never been nothing effective to really get me going. But at this point, I need a divine intervention. But anyways, not to get too off topic, yeah, when it comes to things that you don't really like, you need to stop entertaining it. Stop giving it so much of your focus. Honestly, you don't even have to comment on things that you don't like that much. People that you follow that you don't like, that's weird. Stop entertaining anything that you don't like. When it comes to behaviors that people in your life might have that you don't really like, stop tolerating it. Stop entertaining it. Stop laughing things off as if it's not bothering you, as if it's not affecting you, and start vocalizing how you actually feel when appropriate as well. Like, you don't have to, because the thing about it is, silence often can be misunderstood or misconstrued as approval, as agreement, as basically the opposite of what you want that person to really think or really feel. So if you're not vocalizing that you dislike something, and you're sitting there, you know, giving a little chuckle or two, you know, for example, let's use this as an example, because this is something that I definitely need to work on. I'm really trying to stop the habit, I wouldn't even call it a habit, but the act of gossiping. I think in our culture, it's kind of normalized to gossip. Like, everybody has a think piece. Everybody has an opinion about something that didn't nobody ask them the opinion on. And quite frankly, I feel like everyone is doing what they want to do with their lives. Not necessarily the best that they could be doing with their lives, but everybody is doing what they want to do with their lives. And quite frankly, if you're doing your best in your life, then you wouldn't have the time, the energy, the attention, the capacity to be focused on what somebody else is doing. So engaging in gossip is kind of loser behavior. If you really boil it down, it's loser behavior. But, you know, just being on Instagram, for example, or being on TikTok, and you sending like things back and forth about whatever comes across your timeline, and you have something to say, like whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I just feel like that's just something I just don't want to engage in, because I really don't be caring about what other people got going on in their lives. And after you put your 2 cents in, it's like, okay, that's what it is, and y'all move on. But it just doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve any of us. So, you know, when it comes to things like that, just stop entertaining things that you don't like. Like, just, I mean, it's not, I don't even gotta keep going on about it. Just stop. And this can kind of tie into that last thing. Let people be who they are. I think I've said this before. I don't remember, but I've been having to remind myself of this throughout the course of last year. And I think honestly, this probably was something that I had to start understanding in 2023. But let people be who they are. It is not your job to try to change anybody. And a lot of the times when you have all these think pieces and you have judgment about something that somebody else is doing, you don't like this, you don't think it's cool, you don't think it's okay, you don't think whatever you don't think, you be doing the same thing. Have you ever realized that you might dislike something so much, But if you really hold a mirror to yourself, it's like, but you do the same thing. You might not do it in the same ways, the same instances. You might need something different to be like the protagonist or the catalyst. I mean, to have this be the thing that you engage in or the thing that you do. But you do the same thing. How you don't like, this is something me and my mama do all the time. Like, oh my gosh, you so loud. Oh my gosh, why you gotta be so loud? It bothers both of us, but we both loud. And that's just something minor, but like, I've noticed a lot of the times when people be complaining about what other people are doing, they do the same thing. And so it's very funny because it's just like, are you blind to your own behavior? And you might very well be blind to your own behavior, but like, it's just not something that I feel like we need to really like get super caught up in. What people are doing that we don't like. If you don't like something that somebody does and it's something that you can live with, then okay, cool. Accept that that's just something that they do and allow it to be what it is. But if it's something that you can't live with, then express it, and whether or not they change is their business. You don't have to stick around in anybody's life. So if it's something that's a deal breaker for you, then leave, but allow people to be who they are. Allow people to be who they are. People will change when they are ready to change. Allow people to be who they are. We be getting so caught up in stressing ourselves out about trying to, you know, invoke a changed behavior upon somebody. Like, that's not your job. That's not your job. Different factors change us in life. You know, it might be the loss of somebody. It might be somebody new entering our lives. It might be situations or circumstances changing that allow people to see themselves and to see the world and to see life differently. And that is how things just work. That's just how things go. But it's not your job to try to change anybody. And so when you make that your goal or your focus and you feel like, oh my gosh, you know, I hate this so bad, and if I could just change this one thing, we would be fine. Or if I could change this, you know, things would be different. Why? Why do you care so much to get outside of yourself or go out of your way to try to change somebody else? Again, pour the energy back into yourself. And that's not to be like, you know, oh, you can't have an opinion, or oh, you can't dislike things. But I mean, what good does it serve you when you're so caught up or so hung up on how somebody else is living their lives or how somebody else goes about doing certain things in life? Like, let people be who they are. People don't have to change for you. But you also don't have to allow everybody to be in your life if you don't like how they live theirs. It's really that simple. And quite frankly, I feel like that's also loser behavior. Like, you don't have to make it your thing to try to make people see things the way that you see things. Like, people sometimes do choose to misunderstand us, and we need to, you know, understand that and accept that, because you just putting too much unnecessary stress on yourself trying to get people to see things the way that they are or see things the way that you see things. Like, it's different having a relationship with somebody of any sort and, you know, changing their perspective, not changing their perspective, but offering your perspective, and then, you know, by offering your perspective, allowing them to change theirs, or being able to see where somebody else is coming from in the sense of a disagreement, and, you know, changing your perspective also. But yeah, we just don't need to be trying to change people, like who they actually are at their core. That's not our job. And another thing that we are going to let go of is allowing people to have power over us. Under no circumstance are we to allow people to make us nasty people. And by nasty, I mean, you know, just somebody who's caught up in negativity, always gossiping, like I said, always talking down, always cussing and carrying on, and, you know, getting outside of our bodies and taking it there with people. Like, that's just completely unnecessary. And I'm not gonna lie, there's one loser of my past that had me, you know, doing things of that nature, and I haven't really engaged in that type of behavior since then. But certain people do try to bring that side of you out, and I feel like everybody has, you know, that side of them inside of them, where you could really get real nasty, real reckless with your mouth. But I mean, honestly, sometimes it don't necessarily even feel bad when you really take it there with somebody, but it's also just like, if that's not the type of person that you want to be known as, if you don't want to be known as a nasty person, then you shouldn't, allow people to have power over your mind or your mouth even. Just, handle everything gracefully. If you want to carry yourself a certain type of way, carry yourself that type of way at all times, and don't allow, negative circumstances or negative people to get you outside of yourself. Sometimes people say like, oh, that's not me, but it's just like, okay, it's not you on a day-to-day, but it shouldn't have been you in that instance either. And I know that at times where we find ourselves in those situations where we going toe to toe with somebody, and it's just like, I'm gonna take it there, like they just egging you on, and you just like trying to be peaceful. Sometimes you really just feel like, I cannot hold this back, like I gotta let them have it. But I just feel like, that's just giving away your power, essentially. We all have, power within us, and we all are in control of our actions. Essentially, nobody can make you do anything. Nobody can make you say anything. Maybe if they got a gun to your head, but other than that, there's no circumstance that I could really think of. And I haven't been in too many situations, so could be very much ignorant about this, but there's not too many situations where I feel like anybody could just have power over you to make you say anything or do anything that's not really aligned with who you identify yourself as. So simple as that. Just stop giving your power away and stop allowing people to bring that nasty side of you out. This next one kind of tied into what I was just talking about, but also I want us to allow people to believe what they want to believe about us. Again, this kind of also goes into allowing people to be who they are. It's not your job to change the beliefs that somebody has about you. If somebody think you mean, somebody think you lame, somebody think you funny, somebody think you cute, somebody think you ugly, it's not your job to care or to try to change their perception or their belief about you. Quite frankly, I know my mom don't really be liking when I say this, but, and I keep referencing my mom because that's really my homegirl. She honestly is like the only person that could tell me about myself that have me like, feeling some type of way after the fact. But I don't care about how anybody thinks of me, what anybody believes of me. And I didn't get this way overnight. I feel like the only person's opinion that could really get under my skin is my mama. Other than that, like, I laugh at what other people think. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't necessarily get upset if somebody lies about the type of person that I am. If somebody, has some type of negative perception of me, and then they carry it on and try to like create a negative perception of me amongst others, that is very much irritating, because that's also very much unnecessary. Like, if you feel that way about me, then cool, but don't go around trying to spread lies about somebody. That's not cool, because for one, the experiences that people have one-on-one with you obviously are what's going to create their perception of you. But sometimes it is the way that you present yourself. It could be the way that you present yourself in person, online. I've heard several times, oh, I thought you was stuck up. Oh, I thought you was standoffish. Oh, I thought you was mean. Oh, I thought you was this. Oh, I thought you was that. And there'll be negative things because of how I carry myself. I carry myself in a no bullshit way. Don't come around me thinking you finna play me, because it's not gonna work. I don't be laughing. I don't be smiling when there's people around me that I don't too much care for. And I don't too much care for people based off of their energy, not because of what I've heard about you through the grapevine of somebody else. Like, if I heard that you was fake and I heard that you was, phony, I'm not gonna sit here and just be like, hey, my name's Megan, I'm trying to get to know you. Like, I'm not gonna be like that. I'm going to go into that situation, with what I've heard in mind, but I'm not going into it expecting you to just be fake and phony. Now, if I heard this through several people from the mouth of several people, and it's not from, you know, word of mouth to word of mouth, but more so like several people have had the same type of experience with you, then cool, I'm not gonna even care to have you around me. But that's because I don't care to try to create my own perception of you. I would rather avoid having any type of interaction with you. Now, could that be a way of blocking blessings? Then maybe so. But, you know, that's a risk that I'm willing to take. But when it comes to you and how people feel about you, why do people care about that so much? I really want somebody to help me to understand that. Why does somebody's opinion of you matter to you so much? Because you live in your body every day. You know, you might not know. Actually, let me tread lightly in saying that, because, you know, we are on a constant journey of self-exploration. But I feel like for the most part, you should know who you are. You know what you like. You know what you dislike. You know what you tolerate. You know how you know, carry yourself. You know those type of things, those baseline things about yourself. So when somebody creates a story about who you are, or if somebody feels, you know, that you're the opposite of what you know yourself to be, why is that something that really like affects people so much? Can somebody actually leave? Like, I really genuinely want to know, why is that something that concerns people so much? Why do you care? Somebody that you don't know, and you know, they might have met you a couple of times, or they might have seen you around, but they don't know you. They don't spend time with you. They've never had no conversation of great depths with you. They don't know much about you, but they have an opinion of you for whatever reason. Why do you care about that opinion so much? Stop trying to change people's beliefs of you and allow people to think what they want to think. Because quite frankly, you know, in this life, I do genuinely believe that what is for you is for you. And sometimes it's hurtful when you think that something is for you and it ends up not being for you. It's hurtful. I genuinely understand. I feel like I've been going through this process for so long of feeling like things are destiny and feeling like things were just meant to be, and then they just not end up being. But at the end of the day, what's for us is for us. So understanding that and knowing that, when somebody is coming into your life with a preconceived notion about who you are, and they're treating you based off of that preconceived notion, whether that be good or bad, don't give that too much energy. Don't give that too much focus, and don't give that too much weight, because people's opinions of you just shouldn't matter. And now I'm just gonna move on, because I feel like this is something I can get hung up on for way too long. So let's just go ahead and move on. But yeah, what other people believe about you or want to believe about you, let them. It's not your business to change their mind. It's really not. If it happens naturally, then cool, but it's not your business. Don't go out your way to try to change somebody's mind about you. Let them believe what they want. So the next note to self that I have for 2025 is that, you know, last year I loved and I've lost. And I had 2 relationships that I've invested so much time in. One, a friendship, and obviously I already mentioned in past videos that I was in a relationship and me and my boyfriend at the time broke up. So, you know, I've loved and I've lost. But what I can be very thankful for, and I feel like in 2025, you know, navigating relationships, navigating jobs, and just transitions in life, what we need to focus on is not losing ourselves. Not losing ourselves in the grieving process, because I know it's hard. I know it's hard to really come to acceptance with somebody not being in your life anymore, or an opportunity that you just felt was yours being snatched from underneath you, or whatever. Like, those type of things are really, really hard to accept and to process and to move on from. But don't lose yourself. You can't afford to lose yourself. And the only way to not lose yourself, like I mentioned earlier in this episode, is to really pour into yourself and show yourself self-love. And I think I am going to make a video about just different ways to love on yourself. You know, I'll touch on it, and I talk about it quite frequently in almost every episode. But I think I'm going to do that. making an episode specifically about different ways to show yourself love, externally, internally, just, you know, creating a healthy relationship with yourself, and always having those things, those practices to lean on so that you don't lose yourself when life gets hectic, when life gets crazy, when doors are closed in your face, when you feel alone, when you feel empty. Like, yeah, don't lose yourself. Pour into yourself in whatever ways that you know are going to make you feel full and make you feel happy and make you feel light, because honestly, nothing or no one else can bring those type of feelings into your life. They can add to it, of course, but nobody's purpose is to add those type of things to your life. And so if you're just sitting here waiting around for that to be the case, then it's never going to happen, and you could definitely lose yourself. But I don't want that for any of us. So when you lose and you lost, when you love things and you have to, you know, let them go for whatever reason, and you in this period of grieving, just make sure that you keep showing yourself love and keep showing yourself grace and focus on yourself. Don't lose yourself. So on the topic of self-love and just a transition from, you know, what you should accept and acknowledge about your external relationships, and just now focusing on ourselves and what we're going to do for ourselves, I have here to just imagine how beautiful your life would be if you redirected all the time, attention, and energy into your own mind, body, and soul. And I did just touch on this in the beginning of this episode, but I just want to say it directly again so that it can really resonate with who it needs to resonate with. Just imagine. But what I think is very important is to have balance. And I think that's really what all of what the beginning of this episode boils down to, is to have a good sense of balance, of making sure that there's never a time where we're so caught up in the idea of love, or distracted by the idea of love, or infatuation even. Where we kind of turn a blind eye to what's actually going on in our lives, and not necessarily within that relationship, but in our lives. Like, have you ever been on a cloud and you just feel like life is just so good and you feel so loved and you feel so happy, and then, you know, in a day or two you feel so just blah, like you just don't even know what's going on. You feel kind of confused about life. You don't know which way to go. You feel stuck. You feel drained. You feel depleted. You feel burnt out. You just feel like the complete opposite of how you felt when you was on that cloud. And for me, I can not only speak to myself, I feel like that's a testament to just, you know, not really having a good sense of balance with love in my life. Like, love is love. So when there's genuine love in your life, it's always going to be there, and people are going to understand that you have other elements of your life that require your attention, require your time. And so put your focus into the things that you love, and even the things that you don't necessarily love in this moment, but in the future you are going to benefit from. So by, you know, buckling down and being disciplined and not relying on motivation, but just really doing what you need to do and get done what you need to get done, it's an act of love to yourself, your future self. And so finding that balance with love is finding ways to incorporate love towards yourself while not negating the love that you are experiencing in your other relationships, but finding a way to make sure that the relationship that you have with yourself, the love that you show yourself, is always at top priority. So go ahead and start wrapping this video up. I would just like to say, for those of us who felt like, you know, we deserve more or we deserve better, and that was just a constant feeling that we were having throughout the course of last year or even in the years prior, if that's just a constant feeling that you was battling with, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I found myself in this situation, I can't believe this is what my life is like, you know, just beating ourselves up about how life has played out, how the course of last year had played out, I really want us to allow this to be something we meditate on. That God is really waiting to give us more. I truly believe that. God is waiting to give us more, and sometimes to create the more in our lives, we have to let go of what's been in our lives for the past few seasons or the past season. You can't just continue to pile more on top of, the extra baggage, the garbage, the trash. And I'm not saying to refer to these people of your past as trash or garbage, but like essentially when something no longer is important in your life, or it's no longer a vital person, or it's not playing a vital role in your life, and it's not really of any real importance in your life, then you need to find it within yourself to clear that out of your mental space, clear it out of your emotional space, and really believe that it's going to be replaced with bigger and better, because God is waiting to give it to us. And I really do believe that. Sometimes it's challenging to really understand why certain things have to go, or why certain people have to go, but you have to trust and believe that it's going to be replaced with bigger and better things, or bigger and better people, or bigger and better situations or experiences. You just have to trust that. And so what I'm going to focus on is my relationship with God, my relationship with myself, because I feel like that is really the root of all things in my life. Like, if I can give God more of my focus, I feel like I can see things more clearly. I'll be able to really navigate my life more clearly. And I wouldn't be leaning, you know how they say trust in God and lean out on your own understanding. I really wouldn't have to lean on my own understanding or try to make sense of why things are happening the way that they're happening. Just trust that they're happening for my ultimate good. And I really, advise y'all to do the same, because, regardless of what higher power you believe in, just sitting here harping on things that are a thing of the past, whether you think you can bring them back, or they're actually dead, or they're actually gone, and you know that they can't come back to life, like harping on those things or trying to hold on to the idea of them or hold on to what was, it's not serving you. And so if you really believe that great things can happen in your life, and you really want great things to happen in your life, then go ahead and trust in your higher power. Trust in yourself to be able to get up and do the things that's necessary, and have that guide, and have that instruction, and have that insight of what's going to lead you to greatness, because that's really what we're all aspiring for. So I do kind of just want to leave you with that. Just allow God to lead you into the land of abundance and the desires that we've all been asking and praying for and been sowing the seeds for. And trust that they're going to come. I really, really, really believe that this year is a year of break. So, don't stop praying. Don't stop believing. And just pour more into yourself, and do whatever you feel like is necessary to get yourself to transform into the version of yourself that you've been longing to become. And yeah, that's really all that I have. If you feel like you entered this year kind of still stuck on the love that you've lost, or any type of losses, failures, defeats, anything that you feel like could be mentally holding you back, find healthy ways to release it. I'm always talking about journaling, always talking about praying, counseling, whatever it is that you need to do. Find new hobbies, find different things that's going to add value into your life, different things that's going to pour into yourself. And yeah, just find different ways to love yourself, and just continue to believe that greatness is on its way to you. So that's all I have for y'all. I hope that everyone locks in and show themselves some extra love. Show yourself extra grace, because things are going to be a little bit hard, y'all. I'm not saying any of this is going to be a cakewalk. Any of this is going to be easy to implement. But definitely I want us to lock in, show ourselves love. And I also just want to say thank you for all of the support that I've received thus far. I feel like what I am most thankful for with my community that I currently have is just the patience that you guys have with me. There's been things that I said I was going to implement, things that I said I wanted to, just try out, and I have yet to really like commit to them wholeheartedly. And you guys that have been still rocking with me, like, my gratitude goes out to you, and I really love you guys, because I feel like, you know, all three of y'all, I'm just saying. But really, like, it's really not a lot of people that I have in my community right now. But you guys are here. You guys are here. You guys find value in what I'm saying. And so I can't be nothing but appreciative. I can't, you know, do nothing but show ultimate gratitude and love for you guys, because y'all believe in something that I'm saying. Y'all believe in me and this journey that I'm on. Y'all are interested in doing this journey together. And so, yeah, I just want to say thank you to all of you guys for the support, for the encouragement, kind words, the love, the shares, any way that you've supported my growth, my journey, or our journey in this community. Yeah, very, very grateful, very, very thankful. And there's more to come, bigger and better, of all things in my life for 2025. I'm claiming that, and that includes transparency. So I'll leave you guys with that. I hope everyone has a great weekend and a great week ahead, and that is all from me. Toodles.